Don't you dare, ref. That's he got the ball. Good morning, Tottenham fans all across the world. Rise and shine. Now, I know the mood around the club is a bit glum right now. Just one win in our last 7 games across all competitions. An injury crisis that is only getting worse. A lot of doubts creeping in around the manager, the ownership and the team. But hey, this is the festive season. Miracles can happen. I refuse to be defeated. And we need your support tonight as Tottenham face Rangers in a crucial Europa League clash tonight. And it is shaping up to be an intense, fiery affair. This is what European football is all about. Plenty of rivalry and hatred between the two teams. Unfortunately enough, we are lucky to have a manager who's no stranger to this kind of environment. Ange Postecoglou knows what it takes from his time at Celtic. Now, heading into this game, there's a lot at stake for both Spurs and Postecoglou. What started out to be a promising Europa League campaign has now hit stumbling blocks. We failed to win in our last 2 Europa League matches, losing to Galatasaray away from home and a draw with AS Roma at home. And with Rangers just 1 place ahead of us in the league, on goal difference, a win tonight is absolutely crucial. We're currently 9th in the standings, they are 8th, and this is our last European match until January 22nd. So grabbing 3 points will put us in a strong position to be able to avoid the 2-legged playoff in February. I'm also of the belief that cup games are vital for Ange Postecoglou's future as Tottenham manager. We were in a similar position earlier on in the season where Postecoglou was under pressure heading into that Coventry game in the cup. We ended up winning that and winning a few Europa League games off the back of it, and it sort of eased the pressure around Postecoglou. I think if Postecoglou can secure a good win tonight and a win against Man United, it will keep us in the cups and give him a chance to make it through to the January transfer window, quieting the noise around him again, because all us Spurs fans want is to win trophies. And heading into this game, we do have to note that Postecoglou faces the challenge of limited options due to injury sustained in last Sunday's defeat to Chelsea. Right now, our medical department is resembling more like an ER room these days. But the big question is whether Postecoglou decides to rotate the squad to avoid fatigue or goes all in with a strong lineup given the pressure that he is under. So let's dive into the lineup that I think Postecoglou will choose to take all 3 points in such a high stakes clash. In between the sticks, Fraser Forster is set to retain his place here as none of our other options have the necessary experience at this level, and with a tough away match in a hostile environment and a much needed win to be able to lift the mood around the club, now is not the time for experimentation. Fraser is also no stranger to this intense atmosphere, having spent 5 years at Celtic earlier on in his career, and I'm confident that he'll be able to handle the challenge and the heckling from behind the goals just fine. At left back, we have no other option but to play Destiny Udogie. Again, of course, Sergio Reguilón not registered to be able to play in Europe. And with Ben Davies, Mickey van de Ven and Romero all out injured, we have no choice but to play him, even though he really could do with a rest. Now, I am starting to see reports that many people are starting to think Udogie isn't cut out for Premier League level. Now, to be honest, I don't subscribe to that. I think we've got one hell of a player on our hands. For his age, he certainly has the build, the physicality and the endurance to be able to get up and down that line, which is required in the Premier League. I think in possession, I think he still has a bit to learn, don't get me wrong. Sometimes his passes frustrate me, easy passes going astray. And up in the front line, I would like him to show a little bit more confidence in himself. I think there's times where he has the chance to be able to pull the trigger, and often he ends up playing it to someone else and nothing really comes with the space that he's after availing of. But I do back Destiny Udogie at some point to get back to his best. I think people forget that he was out for a long time with injury, coming back from surgery, didn't have a pre-season to get up to speed. Off the back of that, I think he's had to use the competitive games to be able to get up to speed, match sharpness, but also get back to the level where he once was. And I do back him to regain that form. At right back, we face a very similar situation. Jed Spence is not available for Europe, which means we will have to throw Pedro Porro out here again, because I will be moving Archie Gray into a different position. With Pedro Porro, he's also another one that needs a rest, struggles a lot with fatigue. However, his defending this year has been absolutely atrocious. Yes, Johnson should get back and help him more, but this guy's 25, 26 years of age. He's one of the leaders in this squad. He has to learn at this level to be able to defend one-on-one. Is Pedro Porro a bad player? No, he's not. Otherwise, Real Madrid simply would not be chasing him. However, he has to do the defensive side of the game a lot better. Jadon Sancho cutting in off that wing, just running between him and Johnson, is symbiotic of the way they've been performing together down that side. Porro needs to grab a handle of the situation and start screaming for cover, getting players to come and help him and demanding more around him if he simply wants that cover or that protection. Not good enough for Pedro Porro, no excuses. Got to do better. Now, heading into centre-back in a surprising move ahead of kickoff, Christian Romero and Van de Ven were named in the starting lineup against Chelsea. None of us fans seen it coming. However, I did have a feeling, was it too soon, and did Postecoglou do it, knowing that pressure was on him? And I think he did, and it did come back to bite us. Neither of them were able to complete the full 90 minutes, leaving Postecoglou without both centre-backs for this trip to Glasgow. With Romero, it is rumoured that he is now going to be out for up to 6 weeks. We are waiting confirmation on that. And with Van de Ven, look, hopefully not too serious. Probably could play today if needed. However, I would hold him back for the game against Southampton, which means Radu Dragusin will come in at right-sided centre-back. He did come off for Romero just 15 minutes into the match against Chelsea, winning 3 of his 4 aerial duels and completing 89% of his passes. But after being dropped for that Chelsea game, it's clear that he didn't do enough to be able to earn Postecoglou's trust to be able to break up that partnership. So he is going to get an extended run in the team now with Romero's injury, and it's a massive chance for him to be able to try and play alongside Van de Ven if he is back fit and available, and to try and get up to speed and offer an alternative to the partnership, especially with Christian Romero's latest comments. Now, some would say it's because he loves the club and he wants to stay. Could be a little bit to that. However, I think it's well documented in the past. If you speak out about Daniel Levy, he doesn't take too kind to that, and you end up getting a move out of this football club. And I think that's what Romero maybe is trying to do. So a huge opportunity for Radu Dragusin to lay claim to this starting spot. Now, however, when I look at Radu Dragusin, I am still waiting for that sort of breakout dominant performance from him. When I look at him in games, he looks like a player that is still finding his feet and settling in rather than a fully integrated member of the squad. One thing I will say for Radu Dragusin, Rangers do struggle to defend set pieces. They struggle to follow their markers. I've seen it repeatedly this season with them in the SPFL. So if Dragusin can read the flight of the ball, there very well could be a goal here for him tonight. At left side of centre-back, like I said, I'll be in no rush to bring Mickey Van de Ven into the starting lineup. I would hold him back for that Southampton game, which means I think Archie Gray will come in at left-sided centre-back. The fact that Postecoglou has actually called upon Gray to play right-back, left-back, centre-back and in midfield this season speaks volumes about the trust that Postecoglou has in Gray and the faith that he has in him. But I also think Gray's versatility is a clear testament to how talented he is and the talent that he possesses and the future that he can have in the game. The fact that he can slot into multiple positions, it doesn't really look too far out of place. Fair play to him, and hopefully he can put in a big performance here. It's going to be a huge night for the 18-year-old, but games like this is where you can break out and earn the trust of your manager. Now, just working up before we move into the midfield, Cyril Dessers is their danger man. He scored 14 goals so far this season, so he will be the guy that they will be tasked to keep quiet. Now, moving into midfield at CDM, I think nobody will be surprised to see Rodrigo Bentancur slot straight back in here. Of course, he can play in Europe while serving his domestic suspension. This will not only provide much needed relief for those currently on the front line right now, giving it their all, but also help keep Bentancur match fit for his return to domestic duties. And after this suspension, Bentancur, please give us a solid 6 months until the end of the season. He's had a really frustrating 2 years at the club with long-term injuries and unnecessary suspensions. But for me, I think he's absolutely crucial to our success and us kicking on this season. He offers more protection for the centre-backs, and in possession he controls the tempo of the game, remains more composed on the ball, and has a better passing range than Yves Bissouma. He's vital in this role at CDM, considering we do not have a proper designated, experienced number 6 to slot in here. Now, my next selection may come as a surprise to many, but I will go with Yves Bissouma here in the number 8 role, or potentially it could end up being a double pivot given our struggles away from home. But the reason why is Bissouma is suspended for the game against Southampton on the weekend due to accumulation of yellow cards. And with our injury hit squad and our limited options, Postecoglou needs to carefully navigate players' minutes to keep them fit and available. And it makes sense to me to use Bissouma here while resting someone like Papa Sarr to ensure he is fresh for Sunday to give it his all, who has also played a lot of minutes recently for us. Now, I do have a bit of an issue with Yves Bissouma. Feel free to let me know in the comments what your thoughts on this are. But in his apology to fans after the game, he said, "Now it's time to show the real me." What? After 2.5 years at Spurs, I'm sorry, that's just nowhere near good enough for me. Thank you for recognising the need to step up. But after this long, that's a big no-no with me. You really need to go in the summer, in my opinion. And only realising his need to step up after a huge derby loss, especially considering he made the mistake that changed the game, I think actually reflects the same mindset that a lot of players seem to have at Tottenham, where it is as if winning doesn't really matter. There's no pressure on them to be able to perform. Well, I'm sorry, but out you go. I'm tired of hearing words after games, after mistakes, that we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Show us with your actions on the football pitch. What do you not understand? Us Spurs fans are fed up with all the sound bites in the media. Show us on the football pitch. It's what really matters to us. It's what we care about. For me, I think if Bissouma had been showing us the real him all along, would we be in this position today, along with other players? So for me, Bissouma, you really owe us a massive game here, and you have a lot of work to do to save your Spurs career, especially given reports that Spurs might be open to listening to offers for him in the summer. And to complete the midfield, now I was torn between Bergwijn and James Maddison. Bergwijn looked bright off the bench against Chelsea and could really do with some minutes. However, James Maddison did not start the game against Chelsea, and I think he will start here today against Rangers. And for me, he actually looked lively when he came on. And given our urgent need for a win, I do think Postecoglou will go a stronger lineup, and I think Bergwijn might have to make do with minutes off the bench. I do think Maddison is another one of them players, a bit like Bissouma, where is winning everything? Are they just here for the vibes? Because we've seen the very best of James Maddison and also the very worst of James Maddison, and by being so inconsistent, it really makes it hard for Postecoglou to trust him. Well, with Postecoglou's job here on the line for me, like I said, I think cup games are really important. James Maddison can really step up here, dictate this game, and this is the sort of game he should be dictating. This is the sort of games that we bought him for, you know, coming up against the likes of Rangers, big European ties, for him to step up to the mark, get on the ball and pull the strings like he did against Man City. If he can recapture that form, he very well could recapture the trust of Ange Postecoglou. At left wing, I think again we're left with no option but to go with Son due to the magnitude of this game. Werner, for me, just doesn't do enough to break down the opposition, and I'll be very hesitant to start from the off here. I also believe that Son will be determined to prove himself to Postecoglou. I think he'll be knocking on the manager's door, begging to start, knowing it's another big game for Spurs fans, because he made some massive mistakes, and his overall performance against Chelsea was left a lot to be desired. Now, I know he scored very late on, but for large parts of that game, out of possession, he looked disinterested, and in possession, quite frankly, he missed some opportunities that you'd put your house on Son to score. I think both of them were at crucial stages of the game to be able to put Spurs back in the ascendancy of the game, and uncharacteristically, he missed both. Now, am I angry at Son? No, these things happen. I think, you know, again, he's another one trying to come back from injury, get up to full speed and stuff like that. But out of possession is where I'm starting to have a little bit of a problem with him. Now, I get his age. You know, can he keep doing that intensity press for 90 minutes? No, sure, of course he can. I understand that. But for me, I think he needs to pick his moments wisely. If he spots an opportunity to be able to help out, whether it's to recover the ball or shut down danger, he should go for it, no hesitation. If there's sufficient cover, then that's fine. You know, no problem whatsoever. But he needs to find a way to be able to show more support to us out of possession, especially as club captain. Teams are picking up on this and they're beating us with it. To go down the Dozier side, knowing they can double up there very, very quickly, put it on Porro's side, knowing that him and Johnson have big problems and confusion trying to pick up the men in the box. So, in order to be able to alleviate that, Son needs to get back and to help Edozie out a little bit more. And we really need a massive performance from Son here to be able to help guide us to victory. So hopefully he can get back to being the fully fit, sharp Son that we love and adore. Now, moving on to right wing, and I think, you know, I was tossing and turning with this. Do you play Brennan Johnson, you know, who is the club's top scorer, but a lot of fans have their frustration with in terms of creativity, although he did provide one for Dominic Solanke, which I was quite surprised about, against Chelsea with a good cross. Can he do more of that going forward? Well, that remains to be seen. Or do you bring in someone like Dejan Kulusevski, who is, quite frankly, Tottenham's best performer this season? Now, don't get me wrong, last 2 games, I have found him very, very frustrating. Thought against Bournemouth, very clunky on the ball, gave away possession an awful lot, and quite frankly, the same against Chelsea, despite scoring. However, I think we need our most consistent performer out there in such a huge game. So for me, I do think we would bring Dejan Kulusevski back into that right-hand side. Get Maddison out there, causing chaos down the middle, and just get Kulusevski out there to be able to whip them balls in and find the extra runners into the box, but also use them as a battering ram to be able to get us up the pitch and keep Rangers penned back in their half. And also, he will get hot back and help Porro with a lot more cover. And then that brings me on to who should play up front. Of course, you've got Will Lancashire returning after that red card that he picked up in Istanbul against Galatasaray, and will be absolutely chomping at the bit to get back in here and rectify Anatoli's error, especially after scoring in that game. And this is one of the positions where if Postecoglou wanted to, he could rotate. However, I do think, given the magnitude of the game, given the hunger and the desire, and also the need with the pressure on us for 3 points, I think he will again start Dominic Solanke. When he's in the team, we can get that high press on and look to force errors like we done against Chelsea. When he's not in the team, like we've seen against Fulham, we struggle to get any sort of high pressure on. But I also think he's going to be absolutely crucial. He should be full of confidence after finding the back of the net against Chelsea, and hopefully he can double up here and add a goal to the game. But he's very important in terms of his hold-up play, playing others in, but also his work out of possession, turn the ball up, forcing errors, which gives us the ball back and puts us in possession, which is the way we like to play. So he's absolutely crucial to this system. So I think he will start with a view of hopefully getting the job done nice and early. Yes, Rangers are doing well in Europe, but in the SPFL, they're actually not on a great run of form. I think they're sitting third right now. You know, I think the manager is under pressure as well. So hopefully we can get the job done with about 60 minutes. You know, get Solanke off, get Will Lancashire on, and give him the opportunity to be able to fight a bit of cover. But also a huge opportunity for him to be able to show to Postecoglou, you know, you can trust me, you can rely on me in these hard times. I can come in here and I can do a job for you. So that's my predicted lineup. Everybody, please give me yours in the comment section below. A lot of therapy, got a lot off my chest on this one. I've been out the last 2 days with no electricity, but your boy is back now. Please give me your thoughts below, along with your score predictions or thoughts on anything that I've had to say here. And guys, I'll see you back here later on at 5 p.m. for the pre-match build-up to the big game tonight. Big European game. This is what we love. As always, come on you Spurs. In the big Ange, I still trust. We never stop, baby.